Record. We're going to start. Okay, everybody, welcome. So, for today's class, we're going to focus a lot on spinal articulation. So, I want to have everyone start on all fours. We're going to come down onto our hands and knees. Good. And hands are living under the shoulders, knees are under the hips, feet are pointed or just, not tucked under. Let your feet and toes melt into the mat. Just discover your shoulders are right over your wrists, your hips are over your knees. You have the best neutral line in pelvis you can find in your mind's eye. So we're going to take a nice breath in through the nose, sipping air softly. As you exhale, we're just going to start by flexing the spine, kind of like a Halloween cat. Tailbone, crown of the head, dripping simultaneously towards the floor. As you inhale, tailbone, crown of the head are stretching away from one another. You're going to return to that neutral position. Watch you don't overarch or let that lower back sink too low when you return out of that flexion. Again, exhaling. We're going to do our best not to squeeze, clench, or grip the buttocks as you create this flexion. Just kind of feeling the waistline, the abdominals creating that flexion, the back line of the body is elongating as you return to neutral. We have one more like that. Exhaling, tailbone, crown of the head, moving in sync with one another. Inhale and find that nice neutral alignment. Good. So now we're back to neutral. Your eye line might be looking down at the mat between your two hands. Moving your right arm, left leg simultaneously. We're going to take both of those opposing limbs out. It's not about lifting too high. We don't want to go so high with those, with the right arm and left leg that we start to crunch in our lower back. Just want to find that lift, find that oppositional reach between your right fingertips and your left toe tips. Feel that even weight distribution on your left hand and your right knee the same. And then at the same time, the right hand and left hand greet the mat once again. Go ahead and alternate, good? So that we keep our muscles guessing. We're going to take our left arm, right leg out. Careful not to elevate one shoulder more than the other. Bring that hand and opposing knee down. And keep moving at your own pace. I'm going to ask you to go ahead now and just exhale as you're lifting those two opposing limbs. Feeling that belly button pulling in and up towards the center of your two shoulder blades. You're going to inhale when you place the opposing limbs on the mat. Now, in your mind's eye, as you're doing this, something to consider is you want to keep that pelvis square to the mat below you. You want to keep equal long length on both sides of the waistline, finding lots of stretch, reach, and length in two opposing directions when you take the hand and opposite leg off. We have another change coming up very shortly. Good. Exhaling as you lift those two limbs off. Inhaling as you bring it back down. Now together with me, let's everyone take your right arm, left leg off. Hold. Play around with that height. Maybe you'll feel the abdominals more if your hand and opposite foot aren't so high up. Play with that. Lower the hand and foot maybe 2 inches down. Do you feel a little more engagement of the abdominals that way? Good. And now from here, we're going to take our right arm outbound, moving from that right ball socket joint of the shoulder, and then we're bringing it back. Now, I don't want a big out to the side movement. We're just thinking about taking that arm out, kind of like half the letter Y, and then we're bringing it back in. We're sharing the weight evenly on the right knee and left hand the same. Now, simultaneously to that, you're going to take your left leg outbound as well. So at the outbound-most point, your left foot, right arm make almost like half the letter X. Then we bring those two opposing limbs back in. So this is going to engage those abs extra more. Again, be careful we don't start to dump into our lower back. We're not overly lifting our left foot or right hand. And yes, of course, that left arm is getting a workout. It's bearing weight just like your right knee is. Keep moving on your end. I'm going to show you an aerial view of sorts as you're doing this exercise. You want to make it so that those arms are equidistant, that the right arm and left leg are equidistant, opening from one another. Good. And we're not allowing the torso or the pelvis to be affected by this open movement of the right arm and left leg. We have just a couple more. Back of the neck long now, looking down at your mat. Good. We're going to go for 3. We'll get a little respite in just a moment. We're going to go for 2. And let's bring everything back in, place both hands down. Fantastic. Now, let's get off our wrist for a moment. I'm going to have us come down to our forearms.
Palms it any way you want, down, facing in. Extend one leg long into your best forearm plank and the other joins it. Let's discover, if not already the case, your shoulders are right over your elbows. Good. And look down now. Don't even look at the screen right now. In your mind's eye, can you feel your outer thighs magnetizing, yet your buttocks are soft, no clenching the cheeks? Feel your collarbones are broadening away from one another. Scapula is flat. And like I mentioned before, when we exhale, we want to draw that belly button in and up towards the center of your two shoulder blades. Great. Excellent. Now, I know we can bend the knees a lot and do a knee tap. I'm not going to ask for that. What I'd like us to do next is a micro bend of the knees. If you're looking at me in the screen, you can barely see my two knees bending. Yes? So it's a small micro bend and then a lot of extension. You might even feel some shaky, smaller muscles flaring up. Good. Perhaps your fascia is getting a little lubrication here, and we're not allowing the pelvis to drop. Good. Also avoid dropping into the shoulder girdle, such as I'm doing now. Really lift that heart up between the shoulder blades. Keep the back of the neck long, continuation of the rest of the spine. And yes, you're going to feel those abdominals a lot, especially those lower abs, when you micro bend both knees. So micro means tiny. I should not, if I were looking at you, I should not be able to see those knees. Tap your mat, okay? It's very, very small, very intentional. Keep weight even across both forearms at the same time. We have 8 more if you can believe it. This is fun. But don't forget to breathe, okay? We have 6 more. One long line from the heels to the crown of the head. Give us around our back. And about 4 more reps. We got some bridging coming on deck. Still 3 more to go. Last 2. And then let's softly bring those knees down. Awesome job, guys. Flip on over to your back. Let's get into some bridging. As I said, the theme of the day is spinal articulation. So we're going to go back and revisit that. So as you lie down on your back, just like we started the class, let's find that neutral spine and pelvis. Arms are long and printed into the mat. And then what I'd like us to do is think of little gear wheels outside of our pelvis, spinning towards the wall by your head. That's going to cue your pelvis to posteriorly tilt, and then we're going to peel one vertebra off the mat at a time so that we're lifting the hips via the gland lines under the buttocks. And as we lift those hips, let's keep weight even on both feet the same. Good, excellent. Eye line is at the ceiling. Let's take a moment, let's check that we don't have weight on the neck bones, those precious bones. Don't put any weight on the neck, but feel weight is equally distributed on both shoulder blades. On your next exhale, we're going to soften the heart from the chin. Try not to forget or miss a single vertebra. As you breathe one vertebra down at a time, you're going to let that tailbone land nice and heavy at the very end. Let's try that again. We're going to now curl up, we'll lay around. Those gear wheels are spinning towards the wall by your head. That takes your hips up. Beautiful, guys. Now, we're going to just keep those arms imprinted. Eye line is at the ceiling. You don't even need to see me in the screen right now. If you think about the top of your right hip, we can create a crease there and lift our right knee up in a tabletop position. Of course, you'll feel that left hamstring start to flare up. That's not a bad thing. And then you're going to articulate that toe, ball, heel, down into the mat, keeping in mind the idea is to keep the butt from dropping, okay? Go ahead, feel free to articulate. Find that crease at the top of the left hip. I'm going to have you inhale as you float that left knee up. Keep weight even on both shoulder blades the best that you can. And then we're going to articulate that left foot, toe, ball, heel back onto the mat. And then just keep alternating. Remember to go at your own pace. The object of the game is to not drop the pelvis as you take one leg up. Also avoid tilting your pelvis or losing or shortening one side of the waistline more than the other. Beautiful. Arms are long, equally imprinted into the mat beneath you. You've got 2 more. Good. We're going to do 1 more each way. And know that posterior side's getting a nice workout. Try not to over squeeze the buttocks, however. Very, very, very nice. Let's go for 1 more. Exhaling, feel that psoas muscle invite the leg to lift. That psoas muscle elongates to return that foot. Now to finish, like before, we're going to soften the heart from the chin. Try to create those pockets of airspace between the vertebra back onto the mat versus just the vertebrae themselves. Let that tailbone go nice and long. Fantastic. I'm going to have everyone take your legs long. You have about 3-4 inches of space between your feet. Arms float up. Good. And now, if we imagine being on a beach towel, those last days of summer are upon us. You're going to think about a beach towel pulling out from underneath you, cradling you up, and then think about that hammock-like beach towel peeling you up to your best L-sit position possible. So in an L-sit, we want to find that sit-bone connection. Good. I like to rock a little bit, make sure it's there. It will not serve us to have ourselves kind of flexed in the lower back when our intention is to sit up in an L-sit, okay? So when we find that L-sit, if you need to bend the knees a little bit, by all means, that's totally cool. All right, from here, we're going to find length through the crown of the head, hinging back from the hips. Eye line travels up the wall in front of you, and then come back. I want to just review that because I'm picky that way. Let's not just hinge backwards. Ooh, everything's bracing and hardening. I want you to find lots of length through the back line of the body. Almost like if there are a string at the top of your head being pulled to the top of the wall behind you. You're going to hinge back 2 to 3 inches. Hold that. Shoulders dripping down. And now back to those imaginary gear wheels. Think of those gear wheels. Once again, spinning to the wall. The gear wheels outside of your pelvis. Spinning to the wall behind you. That's going to invite every vertebra to sequentially articulate onto the mat. And then your head will be the last thing to land. That's it. Let's try that again with a little more fluidity. That little beach towel or hammock peels you up. You're not going to miss a single vertebra. You can always do the best you can. Sometimes we get to a rough spot. It's okay to lift your feet a little bit. That's not cheating. You do what you need to do. Find that nice sit-bone connection. Hinging back. We inhale. Exhale, articulate the spine. Try not to let your feet slide backwards as you roll down one vertebra at a time. Keep your ribs stitched as you return to start. Let's do that one more time. Good. Gentle nod of the chin. We're peeling up, especially that upper mid-back. Coming up to sitting tall, chest lifted, shoulder blades dripping down. And hinging back. This is our last one, guys. We're hinging back. How tall, how much can you stretch the crown of the head to the top of the wall behind you? Then curl front of the pelvis away from the front of the femurs. Create those pockets of airspace between the vertebrae back onto the mat. And then let's regroup. Excellent work, you guys. We're going to go on to our side for a moment here. Good. I want to do a sideline exercise here. We're going to be on our left side. You have your left arm nice and long. Good. Your right arm is going to be on your top hip, top thigh. Find that pinnacle of balance for me, friends, where we have that top right hip, not rocking forward, not rocking back, but it's on the pinnacle of that left hip. Our left palm is facing down. Now, if we think about the ears and the toes doing the same thing, we're going to create a lateral flexion through the entire right side of the body. The first thing we want to do is slide the shoulders down. Now, I've got my toes and the tops of my ears lifting up. I'm not going to come up too high because we want to keep that right hip stacked over the left. And then equally lengthen toes and crown the head away from one another back to start. So is this waistline working? Yes. However, it's not just about this. We've got the abs in the front working, right? They're going to prevent arching excessively in the lower back. We've got muscles in the back working, as well as hip adductors and abductors working. So it's a full body affair. Let's slide those shoulders down again. Again, tops of the ears, toes reaching away. It's almost like our body's forming the shape of a Cheshire cat's grin. And then we lengthen tops of the ears and toes away from one another. Please don't over effort with that bottom left arm like this, right? It's not about how high you're coming up. It's about how much length you create through that entire body. Beautiful. Very nice. Let's try that one more time. Let's actually inhale as we lengthen up. We can find that length as we breathe in. And then we're going to exhale and take it back down again. Excellent work, you guys. Let's get back onto our hands and knees because we have that unilateral 4-point kneel exercise for the other side now. So we have our hands under our knees. In fact, I'll flip it around just to give you a different vantage point. We have our hands under our shoulders. Knees are under your hips, back to that neutral spine, okay? So tailbone is long, crown of the head stretching in the opposite direction. This time, we're gonna equally stretch our left arm and right leg away, hold. Now you're gonna find one side is not as agreeable as the other, totally understandable. Let's make sure both shoulder blades are level. So really plug that left shoulder blade down. Also, I don't care how high the right foot is. Again, we don't want it too high, but let's really absorb the right knee into the quadricep. Because the second this little softening happens, we actually turn off the engagement of the lower abs, okay? We're just kind of hanging out on our left knee and right hand. So let's keep that right knee absorbed into the quadricep. Nice open crease at the front of the right ankle. And then from there, equidistance, we'll go right to opening up, left arm, right leg, and equidistance, bring those two opposing limbs back into your midline. So we're moving from the ball socket joints of the left shoulder and right hip, respectively. Those are lubricated joints, synovial joints, moving from those joints. And we're careful not to over open one limb, but not as much the other. They're moving equally. Take your eye line down to the floor beneath you. Feel your neck is long, a continuation of the rest of the spine. Moving slow, because fast will disrupt our organization. Excellent. Play with that height of the hand and foot. Maybe if you go a little lower with the opposing hand and foot, you're going to feel more abdominal engagement here. Okay? Let's go for 3 more. I want you to check in with that right elbow. Are you hyperlocking in that joint? If so, what would it feel like to give me a little micro crease there? Woo! You feel that? That flares up the mid-back. That in turn will get those deeper abdominals engaging. Let's go one more time, friends. And we're going to bring the hand and knee back down. Well, let's get that side flexion done for the other side. So now we're on our right side, okay? Almost like a center strike you see in a highway. Good, that's going to challenge your abs a lot to be one long line. Finding the top left hip is balanced over the pinnacle of the right. We have our left palm down, our right palm is down as well. Good, again, we're working unilaterally. One side might not be as easy or accessible as the other, but that's nothing to concern yourself with. Do the best you can. We're going to go ahead and slide those shoulders down. Lift the tippy toes and crown of the head equally away. Feel that top left hand reaching towards your left ankle. Feel that length, even on that left waistline. Try not to crunch or shorten. And then exhale, lengthen down. Sliding back down into that sideline position. Ooh, it's a balance challenge for sure. Inhale. You want to imagine you're working between 2 sheets of glass, right? So you have your feet, legs, pelvis, torso, head. Nice and compressed between 2 sheets of glass. That's going to help you with the balance challenge of keeping that top left hip balanced on the pinnacle of the right. Use that breath to find even length. Inhaling to come up. Exhaling to lower down. You know what I'm discovering? The less high you insist on coming up, the more you feel that full wrap experience in the waistline. So I found myself really just trying to now see, right now, I'm not coming up as high. I'm not making that Cheshire cat grin so much, but I feel that in my full wrap abdominal experience. Good, let's do that for one more time, guys. Inhaling to come up, try not to over effort through that bottom right hand. And exhale to lower. Reach toes and ears away from each other. Fantastic job, everybody. So let's get back onto our back once again and get into some scissoring, okay? So we're gonna find once again, like we did in that bridge, that neutral pelvis, neutral spine. We talked in the bridge earlier about the psoas, P-S-O-A-S. That's like a suspender-like muscle. So if you think about that psoas, it draws one leg up to tabletop. All right, same psoas on the other side. Draws the other leg up. You want to position your knees right directly over your hips. Beautiful. We're going to stretch your legs towards the ceiling. Now, it might be that you don't get your legs all the way straight. It might be that you do. No problem if you don't. What's important is that tailbone does not tuck up off of the mat. You want to keep that neutral pelvis. I like to think of the tailbone anchored to the mat, like a little thumbtack going through poster board. All right, so wherever you are with your legs, straight, slightly bent, doesn't really matter. Just like earlier, find that beach towel lengthening you up. We're going to take one leg, collarbones wide, pull that leg towards you gently twice, pull, pull, and then we switch, transition in the air, grab the other leg, pull gently twice, pull, pull, and then you're going to switch like that. Now, what I don't want you to do again is I'm going to remind you, as you pull, don't be so aggressive that your tailbone tucks up. I'm doing it incorrectly, right? When I find that crease and fold rather at the top of the hip, and the embrace of your back with the leg, let that help you connect extra more your shoulder blades to your mid-back, right? It's not so integral that you grab up high and pull aggressively, okay? So we're looking to find that nice connection of the shoulder blades to the mid-back. So wherever your hands greet the back of the thigh is all good, keeping the belt line level, and we're never gonna let that tailbone tuck up, okay? Beautiful. Eye line can go wherever is comfortable. I like to look at the thighs. Good, beautiful. Pull, 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 pull. Collarbones are wide. Pull, pull, and pull, pull. Let's go ahead and bring it back down. Fantastic, guys. I want you to grab the back of your thighs, rock yourself up to sitting. We have a rotational exercise. So we're going to take our legs wide, about the width of your mat. I'm going to face you so you see about how wide. It's not about how wide we're doing. We're not trying to do the splits here. Again, find your best L sit. So we're sitting tall on the sit bones. If you need to bend the knees, by all means do so. Arms lift up. They're growing from your mid-back. They don't just grow from your shoulder cuts, right? Great. In T6, when you're in utero, your arms grow from T6. So that's where the origin of our arms is coming from. Let's keep our weight on both sit bones the same. We're going to rotate to your right, inhaling. Exhale, side bend, or I should say flex over that right leg, still facing the wall on your right. Roll nice and tall so your head is the last thing to float up. And then come back to center. Good, excellent. So we're going to do that with a little flow. We're going to rotate to the left, flex over the left leg, come back up tall and vertical, and come back to center. We keep alternating like that. 2 breaths. Inhale to rotate and flex. Exhale to roll tall and de-rotate. Keep going. If you're gripping in the hips, bend the knees a little more. You also have the option of sitting pretzel style with your knees bent. What we don't want to move, shift, or shift about on are our sitting bones. So feel both sit bones anchored solidly to your mat. Find that articulation. We're combining 2 planes of motion. We have rotation, combined with flexion, coming back out of that, and return. Let's do one more each way. So we're going to twist, get nice and tall on that inhale. Keep pulling the navel in and up as you flex over the leg. Exhale, grow nice and tall, de-rotating. Here's our last one. And bring it over your legs. Up, nice, tall, and vertical. And voila, we're back. Let's get back onto all fours today, guys. All right, so we're going to do our first plank of the day. We did a forearm plank, but this one will be on our hands. That being said, while the arms will be doing a lot of work, certainly, we're not working our arms aggressively in the plank. We want to target and find active is this lower abdominal region and the base of our pelvis. So see what I'm talking about in a moment. But so we're going to have those hands under our shoulders once again. We're going to take one leg back, and then the other, and what I'm looking for is your feet to be relatively wide, almost as wide as your mat, okay? We're in that nice neutral spine. Beautiful. If we think of creases around our hips, we're going to be able to move ourselves forward and back. So before we start, check in. Are your shoulders over your wrists? How about those elbows? Is there that micro crease we like, that little breath of air, versus a hyper locking of the arms? Beautiful. Heart is lifted between the shoulder blades. Now, if you think of a crease, this is something you see in your mind's eye. It's not what you're going to look down on with your 2 eyeballs, but with your mind's eye, see a crease created at the top of the hips, which guides your pelvis back. Beautiful. And you can almost feel like your sit bones are broadening as wide as your heels as you're reaching those hips back. And then we trade that crease to the booty line, and that brings you back to this plank. So exhale as you crease at the top of the hips, the knees naturally bend, bringing those hips back, maybe slightly up. And then we trade that crease to the crease beneath the buttocks to bring you back to that plank. Go slow. what we're not trying to do is roll through the arms. So right now I'm doing it incorrectly. I'm over-efforting through my arms and shoulder joints, when in fact, I'm going to move more from the ball socket joints of the hips, broadening wide the sitting bones as we go back, narrowing the sitting bones to bring you back to where you started. Beautiful, guys. Can you feel all 10 of your toe cushions melting into the floor? Shoulders staying dropped away from the neck and the ears. Beautiful. Let's go for 2 more. Exhaling as we reach back. Inhaling as we're coming forward. Again, checking once in a while with those elbows. We don't want to hyperlock. Here's our last one. Sit bones broadening to take us back. Sit bones narrowing to bring us forward. Go ahead and lower those knees down. Woo! I like that one. I hope you did too. All right, guys, let's go into one more plank. Give a moment for those wrists to kind of, stretch out a little bit. This won't be such a weight-bearing exercise on our hands, though. Let's bring our legs and feet together so there's no light between your knees. Your feet are gently pointed. You have your metatarsals, your toenails melting into the mat. We did a lot of articulating with the spine earlier, but this time, I don't want so much articulation. We're going to look to curl the tailbone under only slightly, right? So that upper portion of the spine we call the thoracic is essentially neutral, while the lower portion of the spine is in a small degree of flexion. These are knee taps, okay? So if you have that flexion created, great. Let's imagine we have glass light bulbs or kneecaps, okay? And so what I want you to think about is this burlap sack suspended from the ceiling, wrapped around your abdomen, and that burlap sack lifts your knees off maybe 1.0 inches. That same burlap sack is going to guide those knees to softly tap the mat. Beautiful. Now this is slow. We don't want to bounce like so. So we're going to exhale as we lift. Inhale to lower. My hands. Beautiful. Keep magnetizing the outer thighs. Again, I want us to check in that those feet are pointed, okay? That seems a little odd. We're used to tucking the toes under, but we actually do want those feet pointed gently, okay? So the metatarsals, the ankle creases are opening up towards the floor. Tailbone is dripping down like a teardrop. And that burlap sack guides you up with very little help from your arms or hands. It guides you down so your fragile knees can tap on the mat. Exhale to rise. Inhale to lower. Let's go for 2 more. Shoulders are plugged into the mid-back. We're coming up to kneeling in just a moment. And we're going to bring everything down. Beautiful, friends. Okay, coming up to kneeling nice and tall. We take our right leg forward. What I'd like you to do is to do your best, because you probably don't have a mirror in front of you. See in your mind's eye that right hip, we have a right foot forward after all. Watch that right hip as an elevated or lurched up, such as I'm showing now. I like to think about a sandbag hanging from my sitting bone that's going to drop that hip, find that nice levelness of the belt line. Pubic bone and sternum are on the same plane. Now we are going to tuck the back left toes under. Find that weight basically as even as you can between your front right foot and your left foot. I'm going to ask us to take our hands into a prayer, okay? Or you have the option of holding onto your hips. 2 options here. From here, can you all feel your shoulders are right over the hips, okay? I know sometimes it's easy to let the chest lean forward, but find that uprightness. On your next exhale, we're going to lift that back knee off by just about this much, okay? So as you exhale, lift your knee up, so it's as level as possible with your back left heel. I know we could come higher. I don't want that, okay? Find that weight even. Beautiful, friends. Good. Check in. Are your shoulders still stacked nicely over your hips? Beautiful. Now from here, guys, let's add a little flexion of the upper trunk. This is now flexing the thoracic. We were flexing the lumbar in that previous exercise. Now I'm asking for thoracic flexion, okay? That's your upper portion of the spine. So while it might be easy to just drop your torso forward and up like so, that's not as articulate as I'm looking for. You might use the image of a shelf right up to your sternum, and you're going to round just that upper portion of the spine, and then articulate so your head floats to flat. Now again, to get the low abs engaged, we keep the weight even on both feet the same. That right foot and the back left foot are all bearing weight the same. We have 2 more. You guys are doing great. Exhale to flex. Inhale to find length. We're coming up to standing in one more set. And we're coming back up. Let's come all the way up to standing. Let's get into a plie today. Okay, so we're going to stand, feet and legs about 3 inches apart. And then a plie, we want to keep that torso upright. We're not looking to get that booty back right now. Okay? Can we all find the weight even on both the toes and the heels the same? Perfect. Okay, so keeping it basic at first, let's find ourselves creasing at the top of the hips, bending the knees, and by virtue of the fact that it is a plie, not a squat, these will be relatively shallow, okay? The most important thing for this moment is that, again, our shoulders stay stacked over our hips. We're not looking to tilt things forward or reach the booty back, okay? So we exhale to go down. Inhale to rise. Good, and if you can, as you're doing this, let's play with our eye line. Keep your eye line relatively high. You don't need to look at me straight in the screen at the moment. I want to take your focus within. Try to feel weight is across all 4 corners of both feet. So even at the bottom part of the plie, you still have the weight equally distributed on the toes and the heels the same. We exhale to go down. Remember, we always draw that belly button in and up whenever we breathe out. Inhale to rise. Gorgeous. Now I'm going to ask you to hold the next plie. Fantastic. Now, in some classes I ask for a relatively significant heel raise. Not so at the moment. Right now, if we, without looking down, put our focus on the inner thighs, the upper inner thighs, I want you to use those upper inner thighs to invite the heels to lift up just this much, say 1/4 inch. Can you feel those 10 cushions of the toes melting like butter into your mat? And then press those heels down with intention. Good, again, I'll give you the profile. While I sometimes ask for a heel lift like this, I'm not doing that at the moment. I just want the heels to lift maybe 1/2 inch, and then bring it back down. But when you lift those heels, make sure you feel the lift coming from up here, okay? If you have these muscle pants or zippers drawing up, that's what's inviting those heels to lift. And then press the heels down with intention. Can you make your toe cushions melt and broaden when you lift those heels? And then lower down. Very nice. We're going to go for one more, and we're going to hold it up there. We take our arms out. Fantastic. So now we're going to add a little side bend, a little more lateral flexion. Now as we're side bending, we still have our heels hovering. We want to be careful not to shift our weight to one foot more than the other. And then exhale to come back to vertical. We're inhaling as we laterally flex. Exhale to come back up. Check in that you're not clenching the buttocks. Keep those glutes soft. Check in without looking down that your knees are still in line with big toe, second toe. They're not flaring open. Or knocking in, okay? All 10 toes, keep moving at your own pace. All 10 toes bear weight the same, regardless of whether you're side bending to the right or the left or coming upright, all right? Feel those shoulders melting down. Feel length even on the side of the waist that you're side bending towards. We have one more change coming up. Fantastic, everybody. Let's bring it back, hold it there. Excellent. Hands in prayer again. Folks, you're in a safe place, right? I'm not coming up to you like in the studio experience. So let's just let our eyes close gently. Do your best. If you have to open them once in a while, do so. We're not shutting them firmly closed. We're fluttering them gently closed. Try to keep your balance across all 10 toes the same. Keep your glutes soft. That heel hover is still a 1/2 inch off the floor. Just keep breathing. We're here for 5, 4. Press the skin of your palms together. We have 2. And let's flutter the eyelids open. Wow, you guys are awesome. Let's bring the heels down. Bring ourselves back up. Good. We get back down to the mat. Let's articulate. Let's do our panther push-ups. Okay, so we're going to stand at one end of your mat. We float the arms up. Again, spinal articulation is the theme of the day. So as if we were wallpaper peeling off a wall, or like we did earlier when we were lying down on the mat, we're going to round forward, lifting that navel in and up. Feel free to bend the knees if you feel this is aggressive on the hamstrings. And then like a panther, walk out at 3 counts to a push-up position. 1, 2, 3. Find that push-up position again. Watch you're not interlocking the elbows. I'd like the feet and legs in a close parallel. We're going to go ahead and go down incrementally 3 counts. We go down, 2, 3, press up in one long count. Beautiful. So it's going to be exhale, 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 inhale, stretching up. Let's go for 3 more. You got it in you. I see your form. 3, 2, 1. Collarbones are broad. We want to be careful we don't collapse in our shoulder girdle as we get closest to the mat. Bring it back up. Let's go for 1 more. We're going down. 2, 3. Extend those arms. Lower your knees and just take it into a nice little child's pose, shell stretch. One more exercise to do today before we stretch it out, my friends. So what we're going to do next is have our left leg forward. Remember this, okay? We have our right foot, toes tucked under. Take a moment, different arm position if available to you. Let's take our arms up like a V. And if you have your arms up, we're careful not to elevate the shoulder blades. In fact, feel those shoulder blades cascading down the back line of the torso. Okay? So let's try that again. Shrug your shoulders up, then lower those shoulders down. Really feel that connection to your mid-back. Again, we have our shoulders stacked for the moment above our hips. We want to share the weight evenly between our front left leg and our back right leg. And with the weight equally distributed, use the top of your inseam to float that back right leg up about as high as your ankle. Very, very nice. Excellent. Woo! Feel that inner thigh magnetism existing between your 2 upper inner thighs. Keeping the weight even, we're going to lift our chest towards the ceiling as we open those arms. Take those arms back to a V as we take our spine back to neutral. Try not to change the height of your pelvis. We're staying in this lunge. We're just extending that upper thoracic vertebra. Inhaling, lifting the sternum to the heavens. Exhaling, bringing ourselves back to upright. Okay, so we're not going to round forward. Just a couple more, you guys. Maybe open the arms wider, broaden wider the collarbones. Bringing it back. Last one, extending. Bring it back to vertical. Let's lower down. Let's finish today with a stretch. You guys were so much fun. So we're going to lie down on our left side. Do a little rotation that I swear to God is going to feel really good. So we're going to lie down like a seal at the zoo, our arms. Our knees are bent like a small case letter H. Do your best to get your, let's say if we're lying on our left side, your right shoulder stacked over your left. You've got your right hip stacked over your left hip. Beautiful. Everything's just relaxing. Now we're going to take the right fingers up to the ceiling. We're not going to be forceful with this rotation. We're just going to open our chest to the sky. Let your eye gaze follow your right hand. Hold that for several breaths. We're going to breathe in through the nose. And we're exhaling through pursed lips. Beautiful. Again, inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through pursed lips. And we take the right fingers back up to the ceiling. Wrap the right rib basket around, coming back to center. Excellent. One more time, we float. Right arm goes up. Exhale, open the chest towards the sky. Look towards your back right hand. Bring the fingertips up. And then bring it all the way together. Before we do the other side, let's come down to all fours. We're going to do a little thread the needle. Okay, so we're going to take our left hand under our right armpit rib basket. You can bend that right elbow. And then come back up. And we do it with a little more flow. Just thread your left hand under your right ribs, looking up to the ceiling. And then coming back up nice and tall. Go ahead, lie down on your right side next. We're going to take a moment, get ourselves situated. So our left hip is stacked over our right. Left shoulders are stacked over the right shoulder. We reach the left fingertips up, open the chest to the sky. Again, we want to not force the twist. Just think of giving over to gravity's pull, okay? Inhaling, sipping air softly through the nostrils. Exhaling, breathing out any tension not serving you today. Bring left fingertips up to the sky, wrap the rib basket around and bring the hands back together. Let's do that one more time. Inhale. Exhale. Stay for a couple breath cycles. Easy on those inhales. We don't want anything effortful or forceful. Exhale powerfully through pursed lips. You're releasing any tension, relaxing the body. Take the left fingers up to the sky. Wrap the rib basket around and bring the hands together. Last thing is that thread the needle. So we're going to go ahead once again, and we're going to have to figure it out. Bring ourselves to all fours. Thread that right arm under the left rib basket. Maybe look to the ceiling under your left armpit. And then come back. Let's do that 2 more times. Reaching distally through those right fingertips. And proximally, we de-rotate coming back to all fours. Let's do that one more time. Stretch and reach. And bring it back. Open the knees. Last child's pose here, friends. Good. Just take a nice breath into the lowest lobes of the lungs. And breathe out. Thank you, everybody. That's class today. I had such a good time training you today. I hope you enjoyed your workout. And I'm here. If anyone has any questions you want to share with me, let me know. Otherwise, please have. Thank you so much. So good to see everyone. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.
Thank you so much.
I'm back on Sunday, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Talk to you all later.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye.